You have a specific group chat?
Good, yes. It's in WhatsApp, so
WhatsApp?
just hit WhatsApp. Get up. That's it.
You got me, you got me in trouble.
Okay, welcome guys. Thank you so much for coming, and thank you so much for the guys joining in live, or we're gonna see the video later on. So we did an introduction, I guess, 2 weeks ago about this whole topic of marriage, and today we're gonna get into the actual nitty gritty of the book. So we're doing this book. It's called Garden of Peace. This is the book that basically saved my marriage. And it's a book that I used along with several other books who were mentioning similar topics that he mentions, but he just hits the main point so good and explains it so good that without this book, I don't think I'd be here with my wife and my kids and what have you. So let's get into it. Chapter 1 says, know full well that the most important thing in the service of Hashem is Shalom bayit. Meaning a lot of us are religious guys, Baruch Hashem, and we think what? Shabbat, kashrut, yeah? Praying, tefillin, all that stuff, yeah? He says the main important thing is Shalom bayit. Here, a husband must invest all his efforts, yeah? For this is a mitzvah that obligates him the entire days of his life. As long as a person lacks peaceful marriage, then he must devote as much as he can to learning about, praying for, and achieving Shalom bayit. There's a lot of religious guys who have major problems in marriage. Why? Because they feel that, praying is important, learning Torah is important, doing all the other religious activities is important, but if the wife is not happy, it's not my problem, it's her problem. So he's saying that what? As long as a person doesn't have a peaceful marriage, which means there's a lot of problems going on in the world, guess whose responsibility it is? It is your responsibility, we as men, to devote as much time as we can to pray to Hashem to achieve this. A common misconception is that attending to a wife's needs is a waste of time, especially learning Torah time, yeah? The opposite is true. Shalom bayit is a person's most important mitzvah. It's a barometer of his service to Hashem, his lifelong project, and his real test in life. I don't know, whoever's on the marriage chat, they saw that this week's parasha is going to say that what? A person who married a wife, right? He just married a woman. What is he supposed to do? He's not obligated to go to war. By the way, war was serious war. Yeah, we were protecting our land. Or we going? This is an obligatory wars, right? He doesn't have to go to war. And over there, he doesn't have to even go to work. He has to fully invest 1 year into making her happy. When I heard that, I was like, what kind of baloney is that? That doesn't sound normal. I got to spend a whole year trying to make my wife happy after 25 years. 25 years. Because I didn't do that whole 1 year thing. Now, Baruch, I did what most of us are doing or did, which is what? Instead of making her happy, like what? Now I'm married, Baruch Hashem, quote unquote, I have my new wife, aka slave, and I could, I could talk to her the way I want. I can tell her things that I want. I can fix her into the way I need her to be, right? And slowly, slowly, we think we're going to mold this woman into who we want her to be. And we basically kill her little by little. You understand? And this is where he's saying, what? A person has to invest fully into making her happy. Because when she's happy, guess what? Her mission is to make you happy. But when she's miserable, the only thing she wants to do is to destroy everything. You hear? So I get usually calls after the fact. After 6 years of marriage, 10 years of marriage, 20 years of marriage, 30 years of marriage, 40 years of marriage, and they all tell me the same thing. The men tell me exactly the same thing. Yo, she's not normal. She came like this from her parents' house. She's doing this, she's doing that, she's spending money. She doesn't respect me. Every single man tells me the same thing. And every single woman on the other side, yes, you don't know how he used to talk to me when we just got married. You know, just yesterday I spoke to a new couple, right? And she's telling me how he's told her, listen, what is this? This is food? What's wrong with you? Go call my mother, go call my sister. You know, figure out how to cook this. I like this, I like things this way. And I want you to learn about it. You don't talk like that to a woman. We all spoke like that. Why? Thinking, you know, this is called constructive criticism, right? And we'll discuss further of what this means. So in this chapter, he talks about two people. I'm not going to go into the details of these two people, but the first one is a guy who he calls the holy celibate. Celibacy means I don't get married and I don't have relations. Like the goyim, like the Pope, yeah? They're celibate, which means they don't have a wife. So this holy celibate, right? He says, you know what, I'm going to devote my time to Torah. So what did he do? He went to a shul, synagogue. He took a little place over there, yeah? And he didn't bother anybody. And he learned his Torah there. He ate a little bit bread. He drank a little bit water. And all he did was invest in his spirituality. After 120 years, what happens? This guy, he dies. And he comes to the world to come. Right? And everybody's thinking, what? Whoa, Tzaddik Yisod Olam. You hear? Tzaddik is coming. Why? He never sinned. He was always in shul, ate bread and water, learned Torah. You know what it ended up doing? They told him, Alo, who brought you down here, yeah, saying that you should not be married? He said over there's a problem with your good deeds. You didn't complete the mission that you were supposed to complete in this physical world. Yes, you learned Torah, but you failed to implement what you learned. Had you married, you would have seen how far away from true Torah observance you are. For then you would have to invest much more effort to fulfill each mitzvah. So they told him, listen, yes, you learned a lot of Torah, but did you apply any of it? Which means what? What's the application? A lot of us are married. Yeah, how many single people we have here? Single guy right there, single guy right there, single guy, okay? So we have a couple of single guys. So it's very important for you when you're going to get married, make sure not to do this. He says what? He says the charges you were getting were more serious minute by minute. Why? He says the minute you would have earned money, because he didn't work, right? You would have developed the lust for money. Then you would have forsaken the Torah. You would have thrown the Torah away. Like most of us, what are we doing? We're unfortunate, we don't have time to learn Torah. Why? We're busy learning. Yeah? He says, you would not trust in Hashem. Why? Because now you're making money. Once people make money, what happens? You know who I am. I'm the one who built all these buildings. Yeah? You were far away from trust, patience. You never would have known the test of patience. How many of us are tested with patience with our wives, with our children, correct? If we don't have children and wives, and we're all alone, what kind of patience are you going to learn? What kind of buttons are you going to be pushed in order for you to understand who you are? Yeah? Indeed, you're intrinsically full of anger and impatience. What about good character? Had you married, you would have been shown just how much you really needed to improve on yourself. And like that, they constantly go to the point of telling them, listen, what you did in this world by not getting married is actually you did zero. With all your learning Torah and so on and so forth. So that was one example of an individual that he brought. Second example that he brought, and you might think that this is very far-fetched, but I was actually introduced to a person like this, and he's talking about a guy who's extremely, extremely nice guy. outside of the house. He does chesed, he does tzedakah, he helps all yeshivot and schools. He puts, women who lost their husbands, he gives them all kinds of, things he does at home. However, outside. But in the house, he's completely neglected his wife. You hear? So this type of person, after he goes up, after 120 years, what happens? Everybody's going to think that this is a big tzaddik, right? He helps so many people. In reality, it comes out what? Hashem says, listen, I don't need you to take care of the world. I got the world taken care of. What I need you to take care of is the wife and the children that are in your homes. So he says, you should have directed your compassion first of all to your wife. For she was literally your own flesh. You gave to strangers while ignoring her. This proves that you were not at all charitable. Just a seeker of prestige. Why? Because when we do things outside, what do people say? Oh, you see Arush? So many things he does. Why? Because they see in shul, I'm the one who organizes this, I'm the one who does that, I'm the one who does this. But the house is neglected. You had patience to listen to strangers' problems for hours, yet you never had 2 minutes a day to listen to your wife. You looked at her like a waste of time. You delivered ridiculous sermons about your warped notion of marriage, and you gave your students the worst marital advice that you could give. One time I went to a Hasidic Brit Milah, a holy Rebbe. One time I saw him in a shul. I gave him a little donation. At the time I had issues with my wife. I didn't know who to talk to. So I said to him, Rabbi, can we talk downstairs? So we went downstairs. And because I gave him a nice donation, he gave me his time. And like over there, I gave him my problems. I was like, Rabbi, I don't understand. 25 years married, I got this, I got that, I got that. I loaded it on him, and he says, wow. Very touching. I mean, I hear you. Can I tell you a little about it? I said, yeah. And mind you, if you see this guy, Tzaddik is Torah. Peyo, he got the Bekesha, everything, he's like this, He goes, my wife threw me out already for the third time. Third time, I have to spend 3 months in my parents' house. Even when I heard this, I was like, she does this, she does that. I'm like, wow, that's crazy. So during this whole process of my problems, his problems, we used to, talk to each other on the phone. He told me to get certain books called Walking on Eggshells. I never read one of them. I went through 1 or 2 pages, but it was a little bit too much for me. At the end, after I did this, I said to him, listen, my relationship improved 180 degrees. He said, what do you mean? And I told him about the book and whatever, fine. So he invites me to a brit. He had 18 children, and at 48 years old, I was 48, they accidentally found out that she was pregnant. I'm like, how do you accidentally find out she's pregnant? Not only that, with twins. Yeah. At 48, she was pregnant with twins. After they had about 16 kids, this would be 17, 18. So he invites me to the brit. He goes, listen, my father is a holy rebbe. Everybody's upstate. You come, you can get a blessing. It's very hard to get a blessing from him. I said, okay, one day, me and my son, before work, went to Brooklyn. Over there, it was a small crowd because, I asked him, I said, listen, where's everybody? He goes, yeah, they're in upstate. I said, what about your family? He goes, listen, I'm one of also 18 kids. If each one of us goes to every brit and every occasion, he goes, every day we've been somewhere. So we don't usually go. Okay, fine. Bekitzu, at the end, he tells me, listen, I know you help yourself with the wife and everything. Somebody needs shown by a problem. I said, okay, no problem. Who is it? He shows me a guy. I look at him and I was like, wow, that guy needs shown by problems. White hair, pale, also looks like a tzaddik. He says, yeah, it's major shown by problems. I said, okay, I'll talk to him afterwards. Bekitzu, I spoke to him. He tells me, this guy, he's already in his 60s, late 60s. He says, 5 years, I haven't been able to be with my wife. We live in the same house, but we're roommates. She lives in one room, I live in one room. We don't eat together, Shabbat not together. Basically, like, Mama, she wants a divorce, but he doesn't want to give her. So she's living there like I would not. I said, okay, give me her phone number, let me see. Maybe I can talk to her. I kid you not, out of, I don't know, maybe 50, 60 women that I've spoken to, meaning wives of men, the past year and a half, yeah, this is the only woman that really didn't want to give me 5 minutes. And I'm a pretty persuasive person. But Bikitsu, what happened? This man did exactly what this individual is talking about. This is a fictitious individual. But he was a guy who did chesed everywhere. Every shul knows he does chesed, he does this. And I've seen him personally in shuls until 12 a.m. So what did he do? He invested everything on the outside, but his wife, he neglected for years. And that's why she was checked out a long time ago. Now, a guy like this, right, each one of us would see, what we think, oh, this guy is going to get the highest places of Gan Eden, correct? But you should know, this guy is going to get the worst gain in the world. Why? Hashem doesn't need anyone's chesed if your wife is miserable. He doesn't need anybody's minyan if your wife is miserable. He doesn't need anybody's, I'm this, tzedakah, if your wife is miserable. Why? Because she's the only individual in this world who's connected to you. Understand? We should once and for all understand that when you marry a woman, there's one neshama that's split in two. And that lady, I know it's hard to believe. Why? Because I met her in Israel, I come from the United States, or whatever, she looks different, she was brought up differently, whatever, right? So we cannot understand that this woman is connected to us. She is our half. And another book that we're doing, he explains it like very, very in detail, how Hashem even shows which character's trait to give to who. So when you see that your wife has a certain character trait, a certain deficiency, a certain whatever, guess what? That deficiency was supposed to be yours. Happens to be that she has it. Or the deficiency in you was supposed to be hers. It is hers. But he gave it to you. You understand? Once we understand this concept, we can deal with the wife differently. You understand? Because she's part of me. You understand? But it's very hard for us to grab that. Okay. Finally, we'll go to the next one. So this is how he talks. So that's why he says it's very important that a man has to get married. If a man comes in here and he doesn't get married and he leaves this world not married, he considers this person a waste of time. Meaning you came here and you wasted your time. Why? Because you didn't fulfill the tikkun you're supposed to fulfill. Yeah? Let's go to the juicy chapter 2. It's called No Comments, Please. It says this chapter teaches one of the most important foundations of Shalom Bayit, or peace in the home. First, I'd like to share a true story. He says a husband came to me with a long list of things that he does for his wife. He devotes time for her every day. He's attentive to her needs. He buys her everything, even spoils her. Apparently, she should be the happiest woman on earth. But no, she's miserable, and they don't have peace in their home. Even worse, she frequently lashes out on him in anger. What's going on here? Now, honestly, I think he was talking about my wife, and maybe even a lot of your wives, but where is he coming from? He says, to my dismay, this phenomenon is quite familiar. It was clear why the husband had a turbulent home. I told him that his frequent comments about everything she does were destroying her happiness. By looking at his eyes, I knew that I was right on target. All the gifts, the niceties in this world aren't worth the constant stream of comments and criticism. The wife of a critical husband is broken, depressed, pained, and with no vitality. And Be'emet, after 25 years of doing what he explains here, I reversed my course and I said, wow, if he's saying what he's saying, and he's telling me that it's my fault that this lady, my wife, is the way she is, I want to prove that either he's wrong or he's right. And you know what I prove? That he's 100% right. And not only on myself, but guys here and certain people that are watching, they know that this thing works. He says one of the most important foundations of Shalom Bayit is that the husband should never criticize or comment about his wife under any circumstances. Many men have a problem with this. Why? What do you mean? She's dirty. The bathroom's dirty. The food is salty. The kids are, balagan. The house is a mess. What do I do? You know what he says? You don't say anything. But how do we live? So this is how you live. When you don't criticize, sorry, when I bang it moves. When you don't criticize, what happens? The woman, right? She says, wow, she knows the house is dirty. She knows she doesn't cook well. She knows all the above. Don't say she doesn't know. She knows 100%. But when you criticize her, what happens? She starts to break down. And therefore she doesn't want to do any of this. Why? Because she's thinking, wait, this guy is my husband. He's supposed to, fulfill me. He's supposed to make me happy. He's supposed to do everything in the world for me to be like, wow, right? By the way, we don't think that way. When we get married, what do we think? She's supposed to make me happy. She's supposed to respect me. She's supposed to provide for me. And therefore what happens? Then I'll do that for her. Correct? Honestly, who thinks that way? Honestly, I was the first one to think that way. I want to see hands. I want to see hands. Very good. Very good. I'm glad for your honesty. All you other guys are liars. I'm sorry. You didn't pick up your hands. I know deep inside. And I used to say outright before I got married. I said, "Я буду вот так сидеть." I said, "I'm gonna sing like, oh, chai, huh?
Like a king.
Like a king, right?" I said, "Oh, chai, давай, oh." And I really used to say that. And then when I got married, I said, "Wow, interesting. The reality is different." You understand? He says, by the way, listen to his choice of words. Under any circumstances, which means, guys, give me, yeah, but how can I eat salty foods? I said, you don't eat it. What do you tell her? You didn't say, sweetie, it's salty. I think my taste buds are a little bit more sensitive to the salt. Everything is fine, but so maybe next time, for my taste buds, right? Maybe you put a little bit less salt, but the food is excellent. It's my problem. What do we say to her? Truth is there. What is this? Did you try it? By the way, do you try your food before you cook? Of course, sir, most of the answers are, no, I don't really try it. How can you not try the food you cook? You understand? Before we clarify and elaborate on this principle, we should understand that marital peace is impossible as long as a husband continues to criticize his wife and to comment about everything she does. Every tiny comment is a crack in the wall of the marital bliss. With more and more cracks, the home eventually crumbles to the ground, heaven forbid. I experienced this firsthand. I don't care who wants to tell me otherwise. I don't care what doctor he is, what lawyer he is, what rabbi he is. I'll challenge any one of them on this. Why? Because every single woman that I've spoken to so far, and I said, so tell me, what are your issues? The number one thing they say, he criticizes me.
What happened if she take this salt? They said, why don't you say something? What do
What do you mean?
She gonna say to her husband, why don't you say something?
Oh, if she said no. If she says, sweetie, why don't you say something? You say, it's probably a little bit soft for me.
You're not gonna say sweetie, of course.
You have to.
She.
No. What is she gonna say? Devone, что ты не сказал? Okay. Listen to what it says. He says, listen to this, by the way, it's very, Hashem created the marital relationship in such a way that a husband's criticism can do terrible damage to it. A person has to be insane to try to change the law of creation. And I tell people, listen, no matter what you do, you know what you're trying to do? Niagara Falls goes down. You want to pick it up and go the other way. It's impossible. Hashem created a woman like that small criticism kills her. Yeah? Therefore, don't expect your wife to get used to the comments or criticisms. Don't demand maturity or rational behavior. Come on. Stop being a child. Why are you getting upset already? Okay, I said this. What's the big deal? I mean, look, the laundry smells. Yeah. What do you want me to do? You want me to wear smelly stuff? Right? We by the way, we're talking about facts. We're not talking, we're lying that the laundry is no good, or that the food is no good, or that the bathroom is not clean. Or these are all facts, by the way. He says those facts you cannot tell her. Yeah? I know you're all thinking, what are you supposed to live like an idiot? No. He says the comments and criticisms literally destroy her, but that's the way Hashem created her. Yeah? Meaning Hashem created a woman that any little criticism that she gets, she breaks down. How does it usually work? I have one video on YouTube that says,
Trouble make us stronger, not the breakdown.
no, breaks her down. It's a heart, yeah, with a million holes. How? Every day, guaranteed. I guarantee you, men, try to do a ticker. We do about 20 to 50 comments a day. Negative, yeah? 20 to, at least. Why? You come home. Oh, you know, again, today I was gonna do that mistake. Why? Because I came home, it smelled like fish. You know, and I'm like, I don't know,
That's a
you have
comment?
fish today? Huh?
That's a comment?
Yeah.
That's
Well,
a question.
no, but look how I asked. That you see that face? That face says he doesn't like it. Now she's thinking, yo, I spent 2 hours in the kitchen. I was just cooking my dinner. He's telling me, "Что так пахнет?" Now again, to her it doesn't smell. Why? Because she was there. To me, I'm a new guy. I just came from fresh air, and all of a sudden it smells. So we have to watch our. That's only one comment, right? And then Ibi, why all the shoes around here? What's? Listen, what'd you cook?
So just be mute. Don't talk.
One
about it.
second. No. Actually, when I had 25 years of problems, I was trying to be mute. Now I'm not a mute. In fact, we talk a lot. You understand? And we talk with freedom. But you have to know what to say and how to say it. You understand? You can't just on open mouth. Ropamos. Cannot be like that. You understand? You have to know because your wife's emotional stability is in your hands. You understand? So if you have a non-stable Deone wife, you know who that caused? It's because of you. Because you know how to control her. Now you're gonna tell me, but I don't know. Okay, you come to learn. You hear? He says like this. First of all, we should know that the spiritual source of a woman's soul is honor. Her entire vitality and happiness is dependent on the way her husband honors her. Therefore, any affront to her honor damages her soul, weakens her vitality, and virtually kills her, both spiritually and materially. We have to understand, he is not talking from his mind, whatever. Many other books, sources from the Gemara, Torah, right, talk about this. Prosta, he opens this subject to such a degree that he wants to say, guys, if you do this, she'll be dead. And he's 100% right. But it's reversible. He says, the worst breach of a woman's self-respect comes from her husband's comments. Even if his criticism is gentle, delicate, she suffers even more so when the comments or criticisms are brutal. Meaning, you tell her nicely, tell her, sweetie, I love you, everything is fine. It's just the bathroom is always dirty, I come, or the let's say the laundry she doesn't know how to do, right? Many women, they hate doing laundry, you know why? Because their parents force them. So what do? They have 5 loads of laundry, they want to do it in 2. They put everything together, the poor machine just goes, right? Water in, water out, right? And then they take the whole thing, they put it into the dryer takes 4 days to whatever. By the way, that's if they remember to do that. When they don't remember, 3 days it's in the laundry machine. You don't know because you're busy working, right? And then all of a sudden she does whatever she does, then you take a towel, you check, what is it, used towel? But it's folded in the thing, right? So, what is, so you tell her, sweetie, the towel should a little bit smell. It doesn't smell. Now she knows it smells because she also uses the towel, right? But she tells you it doesn't smell. Yeah? So this soft criticism, X in her heart, and like that it adds up and adds up and adds up. Now I know all of you are asking about how am I supposed to live? What am I supposed to do?
Do it yourself.
Huh?
Do it yourself.
No. First of all, if you fulfill this woman the way she needs to be, like we sent out the pasuk where it says you gotta fulfill her, make her happy, that she's like, wow, my husband. She wants to do everything for you. So when you leave the towel, a brand new towel, into the thing, she's like, hey, sweetie, why did you do that? I said, no, just, I don't know, maybe my nose, something smells there. Then she's gonna click, say, wow, I want my husband to be very happy. Why? Because he's making me happy. You understand? So what does she do? Now she's gonna worry about that. And she's gonna do what she has to do. You understand? But when she's empty, воняет, что хуже, что воняет. It smells, let it, in fact, you know what? After he's gonna use it, I'm just gonna do one of these, fold it, put it in there, let him use it again and again. Why? Who is he? You hear? He says the principle that comments are the opposite of honor is seated within religious law. one is not allowed to make remarks to one's parent or rabbi, for this is a breach of honor. Imagine, I know we all do that, but you can't tell your father, Dad, you're wrong. I'm sorry, but that's not the way it is. And we sometimes we're very confrontational with our parents, but in a good way, yeah? We're buddies, we have a good. He says, but you're not allowed to do that. He says, even if a son sees his father committing an outright transgression, he's not allowed to comment or criticize. Only hint in a roundabout manner. Pop, I don't know if we're allowed, the Torah said that we might not allowed to flick the light on Shabbat, but I'm not sure, I don't know. But say, hey, Papa, tak nizadels, he says, whether or not the father understands the hint is not the son's responsibility. You hear? So we have to be very subtle. Imagine this is to a father. Yeah? It says later, we'll learn alternate ways of influencing a wife. Comments and criticism are certainly not the way. A wife's honor is even more sensitive than her father's honor. We're allowed to hint to a father, but we're not even allowed to hint to the wife. You hear what he says? We can. Why? Because it's going to break her. Now, I know many people, Papa, Mama, my father, my mother is number one. By the way, to some of the old folks, I'm going to ask. I said this to a guy yesterday, whose wife badly broke him. Why? His father and mother, number one. So I said, he's now not living with her. And there are big problems. But he wants to live with her. He has 3 kids, he doesn't want to go. So I said, listen, on one of the classes I have like this. Your mother's standing and your wife is standing. And somebody's shooting. And you can only save one. Who do you save? Who would you save? Fast.
Mother.
Mother. Who would you save? Fast. Mother. Who would you save? Mother. All failed. That's why I asked that's why I asked the old guys. Who would you save? Honestly. Also the mother. No, honestly.
Wife.
Who would you save? Honestly.
Well, why have 5 kids or who gonna take care of?
Who would you save?
Why?
באמת? I
My
screamed
mother-
at them.
My mother is already old
So
problem.
let me tell you something. No, your mother's young.
Wife, we can
Young?
take another one.
Your mother's young. By the way, you should know that your mother was a surrogate mother. You know what a surrogate mother is? People who cannot have kids, they take a Thailand lady and they say, listen, we want you to carry our baby for us. And they give her the egg, the sperm, and she carries the baby. When the baby comes out, right, they give it back to the parents. Your mother, my mother, all of our parents are surrogate parents. Hashem says, excuse me, I choose you to bring this boy, this girl, into this world. After you gave birth to this girl, I need you to, until 3 years old, 6 years old, that's it. Gemara says,
So we choose our
3 years old. And then, that's it, you gotta let them go. But we do chesed from 3 to 15, 20, 25, 30 years old, we shall provide for them, right? Which, okay. But, however, so the mother is a surrogate. The wife, one neshama, split in 2. That wife is connected to you eternally. You know what eternity is? Eternity, you know what eternity is? We do not understand the concept of eternity. But Rav Dessler says like this. Imagine all the sand in the world we bring to one hectare. One bird every 100 years comes, takes one pebble sand and drops it in the ocean. One every 100 years. He says, when is this going to finish? Eternity is even longer than that. You understand? So eternally, you and your wife, your mom and dad, you'll never see there. You have no connection to them. You understand? They were your surrogates. They brought you into this world. And therefore it says what? The minute the man gets married, what do he have to do? Leave his parents. Leave. It says, the Torah says it, by the way. Everybody loves the Torah, yeah. He yesterday told me, Kibud Aveim, it says, Kibud Aveim. I said, yeah, okay. But it also says afterwards, you got to leave your parents and stick to your wife. Have you stuck to your wife? You're still with your parents. Imagine he's almost 40 years old. He still cares about them, pays their rent, this, that, and this lady's saying, are you my husband or are you a child? Where are you? And therefore they die like this. The women die like this. Now, I'm not saying...
What I was saying is that only one mother And the kid,
That's a very, very wrong saying of the Bukharians because they used to love women, so they used to have 2, 3 women. They said, "Hello, throw her out. There's another one around the corner." But that's not the way it goes. Be'emet, that's not the way it goes. And the reason why we say the wife and not the mother is because with the wife you could have relations, with the mother you cannot. So imagine, what are you going to do with the mother now, right? With the wife you could have kids, with the mother you cannot. So by saving the wife, you're propagating the whole world. You're creating a whole, populace. The mother is very important. Don't get me wrong. You have to respect your mother and your father. Must. But respecting doesn't mean you disrespect your wife. You understand?
Right.
And we have to learn the laws of Kibbutz Avayim because there are clear laws of what it means to respect your parents. But we're not doing that now. Okay? So it says over here. First of all, the worst breach of a woman's self-respect comes from her husband's comments. Even if this criticism is gentle. Yeah? A woman wants to be perfect in the husband's eyes. And this is where the breakdown comes. This is her honor, her happiness, and her security. Her husband's snide remarks destroy her self-image and her security. Yeah? Each morsel, meaning small morsel, of criticism in his statement that she's not perfect, to her that means she's nothing. A wife that's subjected to comments and criticism finds life unbearable. Later on in this book, he's going to say that women, because of this, do 3 things. They'll kill themselves. In our neighborhood, we had 3 people like that already, 3 ladies who killed themselves. They'll go crazy, right? Which means they're going to need pills. And they were not crazy. They became crazy. And the third one, they will cheat on the husband. Why? Because it's gonna come to a point where she can't, right? And some other idiot is gonna, play her up, and she's gonna be forced to do it. No woman wants to cheat on her husband. Guaranteed, no woman. But when she doesn't have a husband, she's faced with this dilemma. I don't know what to do. You understand?
She still have husband.
What?
Meaning in her mind she doesn't have husband.
Yeah,
but it's not.
He's a dead guy.
It's not. Doesn't matter.
Again, he's a dead guy.
Doesn't matter.
So
It's not
you
the choice.
see you.
No.
Yeah.
It's not the choice.
You're thinking logically. We men, we think logically.
No, it's not.
They think emotionally. Of course, she sees a troop in the house.
No, why they saying until you don't give her get?
Oh, absolutely. Is she
Yeah,
doing
but-
wrong? Yes. Nobody's saying she's doing right.
Not about that
Ah.
wrong or right.
Ah.
I'm saying if he doesn't give her get.
Yes.
It doesn't give her choice to live with him,
Oh,
go and betray.
Absolutely not. Yes, I did not say that. He says forcefully. Listen, do you know what it means to kill yourself? Do you know what that means? You know what suicide means?
That's crazy.
A woman commits suicide because her husband comments on her. I know one personally that did it. Okay? And I helped another one in Israel. He came out publicly, 5-minute speech. He said, "This man saved my marriage." His wife wanted to commit suicide. Why? He never hit her. He never cursed her. Never cursed her. But with this criticism, he killed her. To the point she wanted to commit suicide. How do you explain that?
She probably grow up very big.
No. Because in a woman's eyes, when a wife is married to a man, she's thinking he is everything for me. No God important, no kids important, no wife, no father important, no mother important. He's my man, and I need him to honor me. Meaning, I need him to fulfill me to make it. And when he starts to, how do you call that? Rezegi zero. You know rezegi? Chick. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. You start like that from the beginning of the tip of the heart, tick, to the point that she cannot anymore. You hear? It says over here, the principle that comments are the opposite of honor is seated within religious law. One of those is, so we said that, I'm sorry. Later we will learn fine. The first foundation. Many husbands come to me with their marital issues, with a long list of complaints about their wives. I listen to them, but then I tell them that they don't have marital peace because they criticize their wives. By the way, I've been doing the same thing. I've resuscitated or tried 50 couples in a very short period of time. These couples are ones that were already in other rabbis and therapists or whatever for years, like me. I was for 22 years trying to find help. You understand? 3 years I just suffered because I had no help. But then a rabbi came into the picture, then this one came, this one, and nobody sat me down and said, Junior Akesh, you know, we have this book, and all it says over here, stop the criticism, and your life will change. Nobody said that to me. But when I read this, I said, what? Just the criticism? I know I criticized. Again, what's criticism? I was trying to make her a better person. I would even tell her, sweetie, I want to make you a better person. I want you to be efficient. I want you to be, yeah, these are all good things. We're not saying that. We're not saying that, which many men do also. That's what shekilers. You understand? But why do they do that? Because of the fact that they criticize. She starts to protect herself, right? Because she protects herself, you looking at her like, wow, yo, this woman is crazy. Shona ni normalna. And then you tell her, yo, ти без мозговая. У тебя мозги нету. Откуда ты пришла? Where are you coming from? You understand? So it all stems from the fact that you started breaking her down. You understand? And if I did not experience this, and if I did not practice this with other couples who also follow this, who said to me, yo, Avraham, before we got married. Everybody says to me, how come they didn't tell us this before we got married? What, the rabbis don't know? Guess what? Rabbis don't know. Not everybody respects this book. Because he's a Breslov rabbi and people are against Breslov, whatever. Again, this has no Breslov teaching in there. You know, it has actual things where he's telling you, guys, this is what destroys marriages. Rav Zamir Cohen, he's not a Breslov. He mentions exactly the same things. He just doesn't blow it up as he does. You hear? He says over here, by the way, I also tell couples, I said, listen, I hear you. If you stop commenting, your problems will disappear. And people who took that on themselves, guess what? They're like, wow, I want to thank you. First one was a doctor we mentioned last week. 42 years doctor married, multi-millionaire guy. You know, after marrying their last child at 40 years of marriage, his wife said, I want divorce. He said, why? Well, I don't want to divorce you. I love you. I hate you. I want a divorce. Now, he didn't want to divorce her, so he said, no, let's work it out. 2 years, work it out, no relations. 2 years, no relations. 2 different rooms, big house, yeah? Finally, one rabbi in the community brings him to me, after I started doing this. He said, please, can you talk to him? And I spoke to him for 1 hour. And I told him what I did, what happened to me. Please try to do this. I'm telling you. I said, I guarantee you, 4 weeks, your problems will disappear. He said, what? You guarantee me? I said, I guarantee you. He said, how do you guarantee? Who's going to talk to her? I said, we don't need to talk to her. I didn't even know who she was. I don't know what she looked like. You know what happened? After 4 weeks, he took her to Miami for a honeymoon. 4 weeks, 4 weeks. 2 years he was trying to, he said, listen.
Probably he was not home.
French, what do you mean? No, he was home.
He was talking or not?
Oh, what do you mean talking? He was talking, but he was saying the wrong things. He was criticizing her. You understand? When he stopped the criticism, by the way, every single woman, I'm going to tell you again, every single woman, she will hear and understand right away when you stop criticizing. She'll even come to tell you, what's your name? Abu Khai. You're not married.
No.
Yeah. Second one down.
Lucky.
Guaranteed this. Guaranteed. But if you were married and you don't do this, you know what she would say to you? Abu Khajan, why are you treating me so nice? And you don't do anything. You didn't take her out yet. You didn't bring her flowers. You stopped the criticism. They notice that right away because every day we do so many criticisms that she's 1 day, 2 day, 3. By 2 weeks, guaranteed, most women are gonna say, yo, are you okay? Are you taking classes?
Something wrong with him.
There's something wrong with it, yeah? And then you go like this for 2, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, they're in a high. They'll be like, wow, yo, I love this guy. He's an amazing guy. What happened to him? You understand? This is, I'm telling you what people have told me. What women have told me. They said, yo, what did you do to this guy? He became a different guy. What kind of magic? I'll show you the text. What kind of magic did you perform? What pill did you give him? What happened to him? Is this my husband? All these coming from women after 4 or 5 weeks. Understand? Let's continue a little bit more. It says over here, so don't forget, why is it that she breaks down? Because she looks at her husband as almost like God, if not more than God. And therefore, when this God, bashes me through criticism and through demeaning words, right? What happens to me? Gosh, where am I in his life? I'm nobody. But yet she's attached to him. She knows that that's her husband. You know, I go through couples that the guy smells nasty, bad attitude. Yeah? We're talking 36 marriage. 36 is married. And still she doesn't want to divorce him. Why? You know why? Because that bond that a man and a wife has, we don't feel that. Why? Because we could have 4 or 5 wives. To us, it's an emotionless game. You understand? We men are not emotional. We're physical. For us, we need the physical act. For them, they need the emotional act. Today, at 8:30 in the morning, I was in Flushing Meadow Park with a couple. Yeah, I usually don't meet twice with a couple. I meet once and then everything's on the phone. But this couple, he's just such a stubborn ox. I'm sorry if you're here. I'm sorry if you're listening. I was going to tell you this today myself. But he's a stubborn ox. You know what a stubborn ox is? You understand? So I told him, I said, and you know what she said? She sat down right there in the bench and we were sitting right there. She says, listen, I don't need you for anything. Why? She makes good money. She can take care of the kids. She can take care of the house. She can do everything. You know what she told him? I need you for an emotional connection. I need you to fulfill me emotionally. No woman right now needs a husband. None. Why? They're making money. They're doing everything. They can do everything. They could even pleasure themselves with different toys, schmoys. They don't need a man. You understand? But what do they need a man for? Emotional connection. Wow. He loves me. He loves me. And what's an emotional connection? Number one, not to criticize. Not to constructive criticize her. Not to talk back to her. Who do you think you are doing that to her? First of all, it's illegal according to the Torah. If we're religious. We all should take this kippah off, throw it in the garbage. Take the tefillin, sell it back. What? Yeah. Guaranteed. If you talk nasty to your wife, take your tefillin off. Don't put tefillin on. Why? It ain't going to help you in the world to come. Because a wife is much more important than tefillin. You understand? Tefillin mitzvahs like this. Pastel, leoniach tefillin. Snell will show. That's it. You finished. No need Shmona Esrei, Shema Yisrael, nothing. Leoniach tefillin, so show. Every minute that she's not satisfied and she's upset, every minute, guno from the Torah. Wow. Not the Rabbanan. Yeah, not the Rabbanan.
But what if a person is unhappy?
That's your problem. I got a guy that told me this. Yeah, what about me? So I gave him the example of the captain of the ship. Yeah? Captain of the ship. 6,000 cruisers. 1,500 employees. Can you imagine everything is on his head? Now imagine he comes, I'm not happy with you guys. I can't take it anymore. Is he going to be a captain? Never. He goes through a mental and a psychological test of endurance, of pressure, of this, of that. What do you mean? As a man, we don't do that. Where do you see a general in the army? Yeah, he sees everything going bust. He knows that they're going to go down. You know how he's looking there? Let's go! That's how he's going there. What are we? I can't. My wife said like this. Okay, so what? So what? Are you a general? We sit like generals, yeah? We sit with... You know? I had this one guy come to God. IDF. He walk around like this. IDF. Одну маленькую женщину не может satisfy. One little girl, one wife, не может. IDF. Какой ты IDF? Maybe idiot. That's different. But not IDF. You understand? We have to understand. Hashem brought us here with a male membrane, if you understand what I'm saying, for a reason. Because you're a man. Because you're supposed to know how to handle the situation. And if you don't, guess what? You gotta find out. You don't tell her you don't. In the business when we're going down, what do? We call this, we call that, we find out, what am I doing wrong? Yo, help me out. Tell me. We don't start cursing our business. We don't start saying, yo, you don't know what you... No. We start finding out what's going on. So if you have issues in your marriage, don't look there. Look right here. Look right here because you're in the control. No woman wants to be in control. I don't care how control freak wife you have. She doesn't want to be in control. She sees you're not in control, so she's taking over the wheel. Imagine if you're driving like this. You're wasted, right? You just had 15 drinks, right? What is she gonna do? She's gonna grab the wheel. She's gonna stop driving, right? She's gonna do rock. She'll be deluge. That's exactly what happens in a marriage. She sees you going like this. She sees you're out of control. You understand? So we have another couple minutes. So because of the fact that she needs that honor, she breaks down. It says over here, husbands complain that their wives make mountains out of molehills. By the way, it's true, right? Smucha slom zelit, right? They tell me their wives are always complaining about apparently minuscule problems. The truth is that when she's broken and sad from her husband's constant comments and criticism, every tiny thing upsets her. And this is a very powerful... Now, you know how people read the books? They read the words. You gotta understand what he's saying. Because people are like, I don't understand. Why is she complaining about some stupidity? This is like stupidity. Why even bring that up? I mean, what's wrong with it? Because she's empty, every little thing is a humongous problem for her. Why? The woman is empty. Ana pustaya. But when she's full, guess what? She has no room in the heart to even consider this stupidity. You understand? He says, when he criticizes her, yeah, she can't understand him or be considerate of him in any way. She becomes argumentative, hostile, displeased about everything he does. I remember myself, I'd be like, oh wow, delicious water. Water? What? What did I say? Every little thing would be a problem. Why? Because of the fact that they feel so empty that no matter what you say, he says over here, I can't sufficiently emphasize the importance of this foundational principle in building a marriage. Never comment or criticize. Criticism is so devastating to a wife that it can actually lead to physical ills and health complications. As long as the husband continues to criticize his wife, it's pointless to deal with the other factors that affect the marital peace. You hear what he says? Many people tell me, yeah, but she does this, she does that. I said, I hear you. I 100% agree with you. She's crazy, 100% agree with you. But do you know why? Because you broke her down. So he says, until you stop the criticism, there is no way you can fix her. Zero. I told you last time, on paper, I was the best husband in the world. I told her, don't worry, I got everything. House, 6 months after we got married, brand new house. Car, every 5 years, brand new car. Why? I want to break down. Yeah, new car. Shuba, 3,500 right away. Jewelry, everything. Oh, by the way, laundry, I'm the best in laundry. Dishes, I wash the dishes better than any woman. I'll challenge any woman. Yeah. Cleaning the house for 2 years. While she was pregnant, I said, I got it. I would clean the whole house. Basement, first floor, third floor. Bathrooms and everything. So on paper, I was the best guy. You know what I used to tell her? Yo, any woman would want a husband like this. Any woman. You understand? But what was I doing? With all these that I did, I was an excellent husband, but I was also very critical. And this criticism down like I did zero for her. So any man that said, you know how much I do for her? Yeah, I know. But really you did zero for her. Why? Because like I said right now, what does she need? Just the emotional connection. She can do everything herself. She doesn't need you for anything but an emotional connection. Yeah? He says over here, he says, the first foundation that must be corrected before we deal with any other issues in the marriage A husband should therefore appeal to Hashem for help in refraining from commenting or criticizing his wife in any way. Yeah? Husbands are amazed to see the striking difference in their relationship with their wives as soon as they begin working on this point. And I'm one of them, and I'm pretty sure, some of the guys that I've worked with, they're like, wow, it's unbelievable. Recently, a guy, I picked him up from shul about a year ago, and I said to him, hey, how you doing? I said, how's your Shalom Mike? I saw that it was that. He's like, I was just starting this thing. So I said to him, listen, criticism is a very big thing. And I gave him whatever. He worked on himself for a month, 2. Then he sponsored some classes we had. We had classes, he was doing good. And then he stopped. He says, recently, I had such a big argument. He texted me recently. I had such a big, I have to admit, I was lax on all of this. And we fell big time. He goes, but then I got back into it. He goes, Avraham, I'll show you the text if you want. I cannot tell you what a difference I see when I do what I do. He goes, and she becomes a different person. See, these are people that take this into practice. If I was doing it myself, you probably tell that. They wanted lashok nastayashi. He became a podkabluchnik. These are new words that I'm learning right now. Yeah, I'm here from 1979. I don't speak Russian that well. I learned podkabluchnik means it's under the heel, right? It's not the heel. It's under the heel. Yeah? The podkabluchnik, your mop, the trapka, all these, your loch, like all these things. I said, listen, I have a class that said, I'd rather be a happy loch than a sad and worthless mujik, right? Who's gonna live alone? Huh? Absolutely. This is coming from a guy who got divorced twice. Okay? No, it's not funny. It's not funny, and I don't mean it funny way.
No, but I always say that.
Right, but he's now alone at his age. You understand? He's now thinking a third wife. It's not so easy, right? How is he supposed to see the kids that he has? You understand what I'm saying? Meaning these are very bad. So I'd rather be a loch podkabluchnik, but happy with my wife and kids, food, relations.
That guy.
Huh?
That guy.
What guy?
Israeli guy. He went with the breakfast.
Yeah.
That's what he told me.
Yeah. Why? Then to be a mujik in a basement, trying to, basically not even seeing my kids, looking for a woman to be with? What's it? Come on, wake up to reality, goods. It's you got to be a little bit like slow in order to not to understand this thing. He says, okay, good. Finally, this is a big one. He says, wife is a mirror. How? Let's stop and contemplate Hashem's exact tailor-made divine providence for a moment. Since everything is under Hashem's control, by the way, who thinks that anything is not under Hashem's control? I want to really, be honest. Yeah, you could. If you're not religious, you could say, yo, it's not all about Hashem. There's some things that we're in control of. So the way the Torah explains to us, there's nothing that doesn't go without Hashem's approval. Which means if I take this water right now, and I aim it at this guy right here, I go like this. Bats! You know who did that?
Not Hashem.
Not me. Hashem allowed me to do it to him. Meaning, Hashem needed him to get this. So what does he do? He gives me the spiel. Why? Because I'm takori, And I'm like, you know what? He's sitting there like he's thinking.
Well, you have the power of free will.
I didn't want my head to bounce.
This guy.
That's why I'm like that.
I know, I'm just kidding.
You're not gonna do it, no?
No. So, I take it right, but you know what? He deserved it. Not for me, of course. I'm gonna get punished. I'm gonna get punished 100%. Why? I'm not allowed to do that to him. But because he got it, guess what? Hashem wanted him to get it. So therefore he's saying, if we understand this providence, right? Since everything is under Hashem's control and designed to facilitate a person's individual soul correction and the correction of the world in general, then there must be a rationale behind why Hashem has instilled zero tolerance of the husband's comments and criticisms to our wife. If Hashem wanted our wife to be able to accept all this negativity, because he knows we do that, Right? He knows man equals critical individual. Always criticizes. Okay, Hashem, you don't know how to make a woman? Make her that she's able to understand criticism. When I tell her it's salty, yes, my master, it's not salty. When I tell her it's the bathroom is dirty, that was slatkin. Bathroom is clean. The dirt I need to do. Why did he do that? He says, why is that so? What is the lesson we need to learn from this? Why can't her soul tolerate criticism? My esteemed teacher, Rav Eliezer Berlin, Shlita, provides the answer. As a young man, I asked him to teach me the foundation of marital peace. He taught me the following two principles. He says, first, the wife is a mirror of her husband. This principle comes from the Holy Arizal. By the way, everybody Kabbalist, people love Kabbalah. Oh, Kabbalah, Kabbalah. The Arizal says, any deficiency he sees in her is actually his deficiency. Now, by the way, this goes very well with what we said about the soul, right? When you split the soul, right, he gives her what really is yours, but she's holding on to it. And he gives you what really is also hers, but you're holding on to it. So he says, whatever deficiency you see in her, it's really your deficiency. So if you're like, you know what you're supposed to do? Play that video back to yourself and say, wow, that means I'm like that. But it's not. Because in I've read this thing and I said, what do you mean? I'm nothing like her. Well, wait a second. Second, never make any remarks, comments, or criticism about anything she does. Even if she's done a gross misdeed. You know what gross misdeed means? She took something, she messed it up. She took the car, not on purpose. They want to eat, He says,
Where's exactly the sources in the Torah?
1 second. Arizal. Go look at the Arizal. He tells you where to look. Go look at the Arizal. He says, she is a mirror of you. 1 second. So Rabben told me that everything I see in my wife is a message for me. Frequently, a wife's unpleasant behavior is an indication of something askew in the husband's service of Hashem, or something else that needs correcting. On a more basic level, a wife's disrespect of her husband merely mirrors the husband's disrespect for his wife. If he places her on a pedestal, then she will place him on a pedestal. You hear? Meaning, why is she disrespecting me? On a plain level, because you're disrespecting her. There's not one person in this room, if I'm going to be nice to him, and he's known, right? Let's say we're talking about normal people. They will never disrespect me. Why? Because if you are talking with respect, right? If я скажу, вы хотите покушать? Usually you'll say, не, вы кушайте. You're going to say, ты кушай. Usually you want to be respect. So he's saying, if you're going to respect her, she must respect you. If you're going to disrespect her, guess what? She will disrespect you. He says the above two principles are interdependent. Since any deficiency that a husband sees in his wife is really his own shortcomings, then he certainly shouldn't try to correct her. Why? Because it's your deficiency. So therefore you got to correct yourself, and she automatically starts correcting. You understand? Especially by reprimanding or criticizing her. Instead, he should evaluate himself and correct what needs correcting. When he does so, she'll automatically change for the better. And this is the line that everybody goes crazy. What do you mean she'll automatically change? How could she automatically change? Well, guess what? In my marriage, my wife automatically changed. There was not one person who was talking to her when I was working on myself. In the people that I'm working with, at least I'm talking to the lady also. I'm not listening to that. Be patient. You see he's working. You see this, that. So I'm working with her. But in my situation, and in the doctor's situation, there was nobody talking to her. Nobody talking to my wife. But because I improved myself and my vision on her, guess what happened? She became a different person. She started becoming lovey-dovey. She started telling me, "Look, do you want tea?" And I hate tea. But you know what I said? Rabbi told me, you always say yes. Even he says. Well, when she says, "Do you want tea?" Yeah, I would love some tea. Yeah. And she brings it, wow, thank you so much. So delicious. Take a little sip and leave it there. But say yes. What? They want to do that for you. You understand? What?
After she's gonna say, I make you tea, you didn't even drink it.
Very good. So then you have to drink it. Listen to this. He says, Rav Berlin emphasized that these two principles, principle number one, knowing that a wife is the husband's mirror, and number two, refraining from comments and criticisms, no matter what, saved his own marriage. We're talking these big rabbis. By the way, don't think that these rabbis are not immune to Shalom bayit problems. We know in our neighborhoods 3, 4, 5 different rabbis who got divorced. They're rabbis of communities. They got divorced. Why do you think they got divorced? Not because their wives were their own. Guaranteed. It was because they weren't doing this. And because they were too much focused on Kabbalah, Torah, Keilah, right? Job also, yeah? But what about her? She knows that I'm doing this and she has to be behind me. Where do you see that? You understand? So these two, with ignorance of these two principles, a husband can't possibly avoid criticizing his wife, particularly when he feels like he's doing her a service by correcting her actions. Since the wife can't stand criticism, they lose their marital peace. Finally, one who is equipped with the knowledge of these two principles will never comment or criticize his wife's actions, even the biggest mistakes she might make. Knowing that she is a mirror, he searches to correct within himself his flaws. You understand? Says this is the rule. Hashem shows the husband what he needs to correct by the way of his wife. Any negative characteristic traits that he sees in her, every flaw, every mistake she makes, shows him what he needs to rectify. His looking at her is exactly like he's looking in the mirror. The shortcomings that he sees in her are actually his own shortcomings. Now I know many of us have this thing called ego. Yeah, it's a very big part of us. It's very necessary for a person's life. Why? Because without it, you're going to be not such a stable person. But this ego has to be controlled. Yeah, ego is like a loaded gun, right? If a loaded gun, you don't know how to control a loaded gun, that's cocked, right? It's a big problem. Therefore, we have to be in control of our ego and not the ego control us. You hear? So therefore, a lot of times, because we have that ego, we start saying, nah, he's 100% right. But my wife, she's different. She a little bit nuts. He's absolutely right, but that would work with different couples. But my wife, he's not talking about me and my wife. Guess what, guys? Every single man says this. And Hashem is laughing at you because he says, no. I'm particularly talking about you. Anybody who's listening about this, you should know that 100% you are in this exactly the way he's saying it. And to prove it to yourselves, I like to be challenged. When I was young, I had a buff body like him. But, that was a challenge for me. Why? I liked it, So I work out daily, 2 hours, hour and a half, right? I would be tired, exhausted. Now I can barely lift 5 pounds. But why? Because that's not on my mind right now. But I like the challenge. This was a challenge for me. And each one of you should take this as a challenge to say, you know what? I want to prove this book right, or I want to prove this book wrong. But you got to do the way he says it. Because if you're going to monitor yourself, right, and understand that, listen, I'm going to be honest with myself. I know I'm a very, commenting person. I know I am. I'm going to try to, and by the way, many things we think is not comments, it really is. Like one time, we have a class every morning, and a guy comes and says, listen, I don't know, but the other day I said something. The wife got upset. I said, what did you say? He says, the kids were playing, and they had the toys and whatever. And he said something like, hey, the wife said, like, he said, clean up. Why your mother has to, whatever. I forgot exactly what he said, but I said to him, that was a by the way criticism to her. He says, how? I said, dude, I don't want mom to do it or whatever. I said, because the way you worded it, he said something in there, I forgot what it was, but it was an indirect criticism to the wife. And the women are very, very smart. As it is, when we say something, they look at it a different way. Like we mean it in a certain negative way, right? But when it comes to these kind of things, right? They're very keen. That's why many things that we say throughout the day are very much critical, and we don't even know that. And that's why we have to be very careful. Maybe I have my friend over here who used to call me and said, "Tell me something. Is this criticism when I tell like this, like that?" And I would tell him, "Yeah, that's criticism." Well, what do you mean? But it's And these kind of little things, when you catch yourself on that and you work on yourself, you'll see major changes in your life. Be'ezrat Hashem, we're going to continue. Hopefully next week or in 2 weeks, probably in 2 weeks or 3 weeks, we'll try to finish this book and become experts in our marital success. Baruch Adonai Olam. Amen. Amen.
Hey, we're gonna say Kaddish.
Rabbi Hanania.